Hi everybody and welcome back to the Girly Girl Bookworm. So today I have my last 5 reads for you. I'm so excited that this one has come so much sooner than the other ones. If you've been watching my vlogs, you know that I've been at least consistently trying to read at least 2 books a week. And now that break has hit, I've been doing a lot better. So I've got 5 reads for you. They're all kind of Christmassy. They've all been in vlogs because I've been vlogging every week until the new year. So far 2 of these vlogs are up. 1 I'm still currently vlogging. So some of these books you're going to get a little sneak peek for. So the first book that I have read is Mistletoe on Main Street by Olivia Miles, and this book is the first book in a series. Olivia Miles is also the author who wrote 1 Week to the Wedding and A Wedding in December. No. The Winter Wedding Plan. I don't know why I always want to call it A Wedding in December. It's The Winter Wedding Plan. And I loved those 2 books, so I kind of had this on my radar for a really long time. And unfortunately, it's a series that only comes in mass market paperback, but at least the one nice thing is they're like $5 books, so that's helpful. So this is in a town called Briar Creek, and there's this girl who was once in love with this man, and she kind of runs away. And she's been living in the city for the last, 5 years. And she finally comes back for Christmas. And she's really nervous about meeting up with this guy again because he broke her heart and she doesn't want to see him. But she knows that she's kind of got to go back. She just broke up with her fiance. Her job's not really working out. She's an author and she's kind of had a flop. And now she's really nervous. So she goes back to her family and, there's obviously trouble that ensues. She, of course, bumps into the ex-boyfriend that she didn't want to bump into, and I found this to be really, really good. I gave it 5 stars. It did get a little dragged out at points, but I definitely just found it to be one of those, really cutesy, small-town reads that I normally love, and I do plan on continuing on with this series, and I do really recommend Olivia Miles in general, so if you haven't checked her out as a woman's fiction writer, you definitely should. She's definitely one to check out. After that, I read The White Christmas Inn by Colleen Wright, and this takes place at this inn in, I want to say, is it in New Hampshire? It's in New England somewhere, I'm not really sure where. And this couple, they own this inn, and they're at probably their last season of the inn. It's not making them much money, so it's kind of like their last hurrah. They're supposed to be having a winter wedding. They also have another author that's staying with them, and unfortunately when they're there, all of a sudden this major storm hits, and they're basically snowed in. They have some unexpected guests that appear, and things that go wrong, and things that go really, really right. And this was so sweet. It's a very short read, but I just love those, cooped up inn kind of stories, and this couple really makes this inn really unique and really special, and you really started to fall for all these characters and really got to know them really well, considering it was a really short book. And this was another book that I gave 5 stars. Oh, sorry, I'm still a little sick. Then I read Mutts and Mistletoe by Natalie Cox, and unfortunately this book just didn't cut it for me. I ended up giving this book 3 stars because I felt weird giving it 2. But it was about this woman who is kind of going through a lot in her life. Her boyfriend just broke up with her for his physical trainer. They had been together for years. And then she just, is hating her job, and she, goes home one day, and all of a sudden her upstairs neighbor, the gas blows or something like that, and it ends up injuring her. So she has to, she can't be in her house because her apartment's basically destroyed. So she goes to stay with her cousin, who unfortunately has this, canine daycare, kennel, basically. And it's, this upscale kennel. And she hates dogs, and she's already miserable, and she's just crabby. And then there's this guy that kind of comes around and things like that. So obviously there's going to be a possible romance, but she's very crabby. And I thought she was going to change her Scrooge ways, and she kind of does, but it just was very dry and it was hard to get through. I wanted more of the puppies and the dogs, and it just, I don't know, I just didn't love the development of this story. It felt like it kept going back in the past and talking about things that, just didn't make me excited. The author was very repetitive in her ways of describing things. There would always constantly be a face in the window or the blue eyes in the window, and it just, I didn't love either of the love interests too much. I don't know, I just found it to be a little blah, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. Then after that, I was pretty sick, as you'll see in the vlog that's still coming, that gets posted this week, and I read My New Crush Gave to Me by Shani Petroff, and I really enjoyed this book, but I don't know if I would have enjoyed it so much if I was in my clear, like, not sick mind. It was like one of those days where I finally started kind of feeling more like myself that I picked this up, but I was still pretty, like, groggy. This follows a teenage girl who is, her boyfriend had broken up with her, and, like, she finds it really kind of embarrassing to be single, especially because her friend is throwing a party, and it's, like, a couples-only party, and they're like, oh, you probably don't have anybody, blah, 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 and she's like, I have someone. So she suddenly finds this guy to have a crush on, and she, like, rigs her newspaper into having this, like, Secret Santa where she's going to get this guy, and she's going to have the 5 most perfect gifts for him, except she has no idea what to get him. So she finds out that this guy that's also on the newspaper with her is his cousin, so she kind of enlists him in helping her to find the 5 perfect gifts for him, and she thinks that they're, like, perfect for each other, but the cousin, of course, is the most annoying man ever to her, so obviously you know where the direction of the story is going. So it was very predictable, but it was very light and easy and perfect for what I needed it for, so I did give this book 4 stars. I'm sure on a day where I was kind of more able to, like, nitpick, I probably would have given it 3, but this was exactly what I needed it to be, so I ended up giving it 4 stars. And then my most recent read, which is the read that I read yesterday, oh, I'm so excited, and I read The Christmas Sisters by Sarah Morgan, and I was so nervous about this book because I had already kind of seen it, and I wanted it, and then all of a sudden, the 'Tis the Season-a-thon happened, and it was everywhere, and everyone was raving about it, and I was like, great, now I'm going to hate it just because of the fact that everybody else hypes it, and normally when there's hype around a book, I always hate it. So I was really nervous going into this, and I have to say, I loved it, and I'm so excited that I am one with the hype for this one. It follows these 3 sisters, and they've had a really tragic past. 25 years ago, a really bad event happened to them, which I really don't want to spoil. I don't know if it says it really much in the synopsis, because I didn't read the synopsis before reading it, so I don't want to spoil it, but something tragic happens to them in their past, and as they've grown up, they've kind of grown apart. Their parents live in Scotland, and one of the sisters lives with their parents, and then the other 2 live in New York. They're all kind of leading these really separate lives, but they always come together at this Christmas time. They all go back to Scotland to be with each other. So there's obviously, each one of these sisters is kind of going through something really different, and how they could kind of put their past and their issues aside to really be there for each other, because their mother really loves having this idea of this, like, perfect Christmas. So they kind of want to give their mom that perfect Christmas idea, but they're all really kind of annoyed about, like, being there and things like that. And it was really, really good. I really liked the development. I know that I've seen people say that it's kind of a slower paced book, and it kind of is, but I read this all in one day. Granted, I read a lot of books in one day, but I read this, considering I haven't been feeling the best, this was still really easy to get through, and I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the message of the story, and I really liked everything that the sisters were going through, and I really look forward to reading other books that Sarah Morgan has published. So if you have any recommendations about other books that she's written, I've seen that she has a trilogy called, like, the Puffin Island trilogy that looks pretty good. So if you have anything to say about those, please let me know down below, because I look forward to reading anything else by this author. And if you couldn't tell, I gave this book 5 stars. So those are the last 5 books that I have read. And I'm really excited that I was able to get to some holiday reads. I know I was nervous in the beginning of the season that I wasn't going to get anything, so I'm really excited that I've been able to get to these. The book that I'm about to start today is One Day in December by Josie Silver, because I want to get to this before December is over. I know I have some more Christmas books to read, but I would really like to get to this before December is over, because I've heard a lot of good things about this book too. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I should have a haul coming up soon because I did place a little order on Book Outlet. So I hope that you guys are having a really great holiday, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.